Welcome to Elite Podcasts with your host, Mighty RX.
Welcome, I'm Mighty RX, better known as Max Paul, owner of the three-time SFL champion, Florida Storm. Back with season two of Elite Podcast, hoping to make it bigger, better, and bolder than ever before. These following conversations are going to have with various members of this SFL community, and I'm hoping it illuminates and gives you insight as to why certain decisions are made both on and off the field, and also in the front offices. So sit back and enjoy. Thank y'all for joining this episode of Elite Podcast, and we are an elite. I'm talking about peak of the mountain elite. There's no higher than this, or you're in the stratosphere kind of elite. None but Hall of Famers and a soon-to-be Hall of Famer, or should-be Hall of Famer. We're gonna start with my main man. He's not feeling too hot, so got to keep it down a little bit. Mr. Eddie Gay, strong safety, owner of the Arizona Scorpions, defensive coordinator extraordinaire. Eddie, thank you for joining us, even though you're a little under the weather today. How you doing?
Oh man, I'm about as good as I can be, man. But hey, it could be worse. So I'm thankful for what I got.
And not to be outdone, we have another Hall of Fame wide receiver. They call him the doctor. When the offense is ailing, he finds the remedy. We got Simien, owner of the newly rebranded Houston Headhunters. What's going on, Demond?
Nothing much, man. Just chilling. Excited to be here. Thanks for having me on. And I must say, man, you inducted me into the Hall of Fame.
I'm just saying, game recognized game, player, game recognized game. You know what I'm saying? Okay, next, but nowhere least, my kicking brother from another mother, Hall of Fame owner, Ramos Lynn, co-owner of the Mexico City Aztecs. What's going on, Ramos?
Hey, Mighty, how are you? I'm very, very happy to be here. It's about time, man. I've been following your podcast ever since the first episode, so very excited to be here, man. And thank you.
Oh, no problem at all. No problem at all. Now, lastly, but nowhere near the least, this is the man you can ask the people in here, the ones I talk to on a regular basis. I've been giving this man his flowers since last season. When I feel like, nah, it can't be him, you sure? Like, yes, this man is the man. Mr. Andy Hamilton, owner of the Vancouver Legion. Mr. Hamilton, holla at your boy, what you got going on?
What's up, gentlemen? I'm just very blessed to be here with the four of you guys. Been very elite company, as you said earlier. So I'm just happy to be here with this group. I mean, you guys are all incredible. So just blessed to be selected as the last member of the Brady Bunch here.
So now that I have presented these fine, awesome folk, let's get into it. If y'all haven't noticed the theme, these are not only elite owners, elite talent coaching wise, these are elite broadcasters. I'm talking these boys here, whenever the game is on and you hear their voice, know it's a big time game and big time analysis is about to happen, right? So having said all that, gentlemen, as you get into, I guess, not even the game didn't even start yet. Your Wednesday night broadcasting meeting happens. The pairings are announced. We're finding statisticians to marry into the pairing so y'all can have the proper ingredients for a great broadcast. And the matchups come up. We'll start with Andy. Andy, the matchup comes up. What are you looking at that matchup that might excite the viewer? The things that you might want to pontificate about, whether you're doing color or whether you're doing the play-by-play. How are you going about gauging what to say to the folks that are watching again?
Yeah, I think, very similarly to when you go up against a team as a coach or a coordinator, the first thing I always look at is what styles of teams are we facing, right? Is it a run-heavy team? Is it a pass-heavy team on the offensive side of the ball? And for their opponent, is it a pass-oriented defense? Are they a run-oriented defense? How is that matchup going to dictate maybe which star players on the field might see more of the football, right? Who do I have to do my research on? Not just the stars for the team, but let's say it's a pass-heavy defense against a pass-heavy offense. How might one team be willing to switch to running the football? And how can I prepare, some stats on the rushing figures there? Obviously, you look at who's good this year in the league, who's not good when you get into a matchup, but more in depth, I'm always looking for what's going to be the X factor. Where can I kind of get information and learn something unique about this broadcast that the viewer's not going to be able to identify just by looking at the stuff that's on the SFL website. So sometimes I'll reach out to players and ask them specific questions. A good example of that is I had a St. Louis and Tulsa game. And Doug Brown was the running back for Tulsa. Christian Brown was the quarterback for St. Louis at the time, who they've now moved to Motor City. But I reached out to both of them and asked if there was any relation between the two of them, last name Brown, or if they had even ever spoken before, right? I think not a lot of people would put the two together, but in looking at the last names, that was something that I felt like, might need to be brought up. And obviously those two didn't have, weren't related, but, had a little bit of a conversation. Christian Brown was a big fan of Doug Brown's podcast. So that added kind of another layer to that broadcast. So I'm always looking for, what's unique and how will the two teams match up.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Now, Ramos, I'm gonna give you a twist, just a small twist, because you especially when you're paired up with Cam, yo, Ramos is like when Ramos calls one of you guys games, you can't tell me thank you, Ramos, why you giving all my plays away? Oh yeah, but they're gonna come out and gun pair slot here, and they're gonna run that 90x speed under, and watch the defense gonna try to man up with a cover 2 soft, and it's bro, why you my playboy like that? Back it up a little bit, right? So Ramos, what kind of homework are you doing going into game day when they're having whatever, maybe a marquee matchup or maybe a less than stellar matchup? What kind of homework you doing there?
Sure. I mean, more than doing homework for that specific game, I think it's just been, since we are also coaches, we also scout for those teams for our own games when we play them, right? So especially when I'm calling a game like Lone Star, Houston, or Fort Worth, these are divisional matchups for us. So, these are coaches I have to go against every single season, sometimes twice a season. And for other teams, just watching the SFL, just watching the league, you kind of get an idea. And I'm very analytical when I watch every game. I cannot watch just as a fan and have fun. Every time I'm looking at the formation, okay, that's shotgun, that's 2 tight ends, that's 2 wide receivers. Okay, so I know, kind of the plays that, probably got ran from this formations are this, and that. So I really just have 3 or 4 choices. And then it's really watching the talent on the field, right? So if I see that a team is going in, a shotgun formation, 5 wide receivers, and I see they have 2 goal wide receivers, each being 120 in value with speed burner and deep threat and everything, it's 50 XA posts. It's kind of a given. They're gonna try to exploit that speed, and that's basically how it goes. Obviously, I do some research. Mike Dax does a great job with the broadcast research sheet. So you kind of know, stats for players, right? So you see how the quarterback stacks up against the league, the wide receivers, and you'll see the wide receiver has 40 catches for 1,200 yards, averaging 30 yards per catch. He's a deep threat. Most likely he's going to go, mostly fade routes, post routes, corner routes, stuff like that. And just, watching the game by the first quarter, you'll about have an idea of, what they want to do. And that's something that I really do with, it's something very, very interesting, as Andy said, basically the matchups. And to me, it's very interesting to see, okay, I've watched many games because I watch the SFL all the time. What changes are teams going to do to exploit the other team's weakness, right? As Andy said, maybe a team is very run-oriented offense. So maybe the opposing defense, it's interesting to see how the defense is going to counter for that, right? Are they going to put another man in the box? We're going to run kind of a 4-4 defense for that. Are they going to run a lot of coverage 3? Are they going to run, something to put the safety down underneath? Or the opposite thing, right? If they're going to run a lot of cover 12, they're going to run bump coverage, kind of try to stop the pass. And yeah, that's the kind of work that goes into it. Normally it was the analyst. I was an analyst with Cam for one season. That was really, really fun. This last season I was given the gig as a play-by-play, and that was really fun too. Really, really love both things.
Very good, very good. Now, Damon and Eddie, I got y'all. I wanted to make sure I got y'all together because y'all are often paired up. And when y'all are paired up, that move gets wild, right? Like conversations had in that move is crazy. You know what I'm saying? That one across Hollywood Boulevard. And like, well, let me tell you about Hollywood Boulevard. I was there one time. They're like, what the heck? What's happening in that move? So, Devon, if you could go first, just explain that, just the chemistry y'all boys got in that booth, because it's second to none. It's second to none.
You're right. There is a chemistry there between Eddie and I, and I think it goes back to the friendship that Eddie and I have, should I say, and which goes back all the way to what, 2012, 13 or something like that or so, before we were even introduced to the SFL. So Eddie and I have been pretty, good friends, and we've conversated multiple times, prior, should I say, to even broadcasting together. And I think we just feed off of each other, man. I'm an offensive guy. Eddie's a defensive guy. He breaks down the defense. I breaks down the offense. He's starting to get into the part where that he's, remembering these formations now because he's, offensive coordinator. He's starting to see the formations and so forth. So it basically, man, I really just don't have anything, an answer for it as far as how we clicked the way we did, other than just the friendship. And there's just two of us, it's like we went to communications school together, if we studied together, whatever, which we don't, but that's what it seems like, because you're right. When we get together, man, it is a show. The conversations, we do have a story time. It's crazy how we be in the middle of the game and we always have a story, between the two of us that ties into within the game, and the crazy part about that is that Cam loves it. He told me, he said, man, I love when you guys do story time. He said, not only that I'm learning something about you guys, everyone else is learning something about you guys as well. And he said, your stories be funny, so it's not a dull moment, when we're broadcasting. It's exciting, it's fun. And that's that's what I like. I like excitement. I like to bring excitement to the game, whether it's, a game that's defensively or so. That's Eddie type of style of football. I'll find a way to get excited. So you go ahead and take it over, Eddie.
I don't know. It's kind of like what Damon said. We've been friends for a long time. I think we went back further than 2000. I think it was like 2010 or 11 or so that I've been knowing him.
Yeah, probably so.
So when I came over to this league, I had already had a relationship with him, but he started out broadcasting long before I did, because I was always kind of scared to do it. And, true story, when I was a kid, I don't know if you're familiar, if you guys are all old enough to remember Ron Harper when he played for the Bulls, but even before that, he had a really bad stuttering problem. Mm-hmm. And as a kid, so did I. I used to stutter really bad. And it was even amplified worse when I would get like mad or excited about something, because not only would I stutter, but I would be speaking really fast, to the point where my parents put me in speech therapy, and that helped out a ton. And I still do it a lot now. Like if I get mad or upset about something, or, it happened the other day in Home Depot, and somebody trying to flirt with my wife, and, it kind of came out again. That's the first time in a while, but since then, I remember coming to the booth. I said, I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot. And I don't know, I just have fun with it now. I've learned to relax and, enjoy the moment. It's something I wish I'd have picked up on a long time ago, because I would have a lot more memories than I do now of broadcasting games. And it's just something I really appreciate. And another true story, I almost took this past season off, because it felt like, to me, like what I brought to the broadcast team wasn't appreciated. I would get DMs from people like Frank, for example, or others who would tell me, man, dude, I love when you call our games, because, you bring knowledge of the game, and, you don't just repeat what the play-by-play guy's saying. You're actually calling what you see and telling people why or how it happened. But I didn't seem to get that same energy from people like Dags or Cam. And so I didn't think it was appreciated. I almost took this past season off, but I came back anyway because I love what I do. And I'm glad I did because, they showed me just how much they appreciated me this year by allowing me to call 2 playoff games, including the championship game. So I'll never forget it. I'm forever grateful for it.
So I ain't trying to tax you too much because I know you ain't feeling too hot, but while we're on you, we're going to go on a quick reverse order. What made you jump into the broadcast booth to begin with? Like I remember, Andy, what was the first convention? That was season 10. That was between 10 and 11. That was going to 11, right? I did one game with our boy from Orlando. Eric Vincent. And boy, did I sound like a robot. Lord of mercy. Second and 10. So what do you think is going on there? Well, let me explain. It's like I was not natural at all. Like you see how super rated and animated I am now. Woo, when the lights was on, your boy was gunshot. So, so Eddie, what made you want to jump behind the booth and kind of try yourself out at calling games and breaking games down for everyone to enjoy?
I can't remember who it was, but someone had advised me to try it out. And they asked me a few times and I always said no. I'm like, dude, that's not for me because I'm going to get nervous and it's going to be a total disaster. But it's always something I wanted to do, but I just didn't have the courage to do it. And I don't know what finally got me over the hump and said, okay, I'll try it. But I was talking to Mike Daggs and I said, dude, I think I want to try broadcasting. He says, okay, well, I'll send you a previously recorded game and have you try and have you test out. But for whatever reason, that didn't happen. And all of a sudden, I get an invite to the broadcast channel, and I'm thinking it's to, just to get acquainted with everyone and at some point broadcast the game. And then Dax tells the group, well, he's going to call the game on Saturday. I'm like, wait, what? I've never done a game yet. Hold on, wait a minute. And he just threw me in there, and the rest was history.
That's it. Just throw you in the deep end. You'll figure it out. you'll sink or swim. Damon, what made you want to jump in the booth?
Oh man, I can remember season 5 here in Irvine, commentate a playoff game. And I think it was DC versus I want to say DC versus Louisville. It either was DC versus Louisville or the last game of the season when DC played the New York Knights. And I sent a message out when I posted inside of the stream chat on Twitch. And I say, hey, Cam, if you would have me, man, I'd love to drive to San Antonio and broadcast a game with you and Corky. Because you remember Corky was going to Cam's house.
That's right.
And calling the games back then, because they both lived in San Antonio. So I said, man, I'd love to come out there and, broadcast a game with you guys. And Cam didn't respond to my message. And I was like, okay, well, I guess that's a no. He didn't say anything. He didn't say anything about it when he was calling the game. He didn't, type in the chat or whatever. I said, okay, well, I guess that's a no. But it was either after the game or the next day or so or 2 days later, he ended up calling me and he's like, hey man, were you serious? About coming out here and broadcast a game? And I say, yeah, for sure. He said because I got something planned. I said, okay. I said, what you talking about? He said, well, if you can come out to the championship game of season 5, he said, we're gonna have the first ever 4-man booth. And I was like, dude, count me in, bro. So and he talked about he was bringing over Mike Peters, which is DJ Majesty, here in the SFL is what he go by. Who also he's the commissioner of PX1 Sports or something like that. Well, he does college football, with NCAA 14 or so, or the revamp version of it. But yeah, so that's how I got into it, man. And then like when I was younger, man, my brother used to always do sim games and stuff like that back on, the original PlayStation when we was playing, not Madden, but we were playing 989 Sports NFL Game Day. So we would do sims on that. We would even do sims in Tecmo Bowl.
Yeah.
We would like simulate the season all the way to the end, and we would just CPU versus CPU to Super Bowl, you know. So, so you know, I mean, we've been doing it for years, man. And like I said, I would always, you know, play with it a little bit, broadcast, and then, like I said, I got into it that for season 5, and then the championship game became a traditional to me. I think I did like 4 championship games in a row, and then so Andy ended up, you know, starting off as the first broadcaster outside of Cam, and not to take away from, you know, what's going to come up with Andy's version or so, but when I saw Andy do it, you know, by himself, I was like, man, I wonder if I can do that. So I started like rewatching some SFL games, and I would turn the volume down, and I would, you know, broadcast the game myself or whatever. So that's basically how I got into it. And then I reached out to Cam and Andy, and Cam said, hey, okay, well, I'm gonna send you a recording. And you know, you record it through OBS, and you know, through Twitch or whatever. Dude, I messed that up so much I didn't even get the job at first because I left the darn recording on all weekend long. This was on a Friday, I think it was. Cam hit me up Monday and said, man, did you know you left the stream on all weekend? Because he gave me his streaming key or whatever. So that happened, and I didn't get it, but EK Vincent got it.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, damn, all because I left the damn streaming key on. So so then, you know, the next season or so, they was like, hey, we would like to have more broadcasters. Would you be down to come over? I was like, sure, absolutely. You know, and that's the story as far as how I got into broadcasting. But yeah, man, I know that was kind of long-winded or so, but it being a broadcaster, dude, it's a blast in this league. It really is.
Nah, no worries, man. Long-winded, it's fine. You have to explain the story, which was good. It was really good. So like you had like 48 hours of just recording whatever.
Crazy, bro. And I still had OBS open on my laptop.
Oh Lord.
And when he called me and I went in, I was like, oh, bro, the light's still red, you know?
Oh man. Okay. That's something, all right. Ramos, how did you find your way into that booth, brother?
I think it was back in season 10 or season 11? Either one of those 2 seasons. Early 20.
Season 9, you was busy winning championship this season.
There you go. I think it was season 10 or season 11. It was in 2018 for sure. 2018. And just like Damon, I used to, like, ever since I was a kid, and for me it was also the PlayStation. I did play Game Day, the 989 Sports Game Day. But for me it was more so in Madden, for example, Madden 02, Madden 03, 04. You know, I will you know, get home from school, I will sit on my puff couch and just to do my homework, sitting right there, and I would just put the Madden game, just keep it on the menu, and the demo will run. And I would just watch the demo while I was doing the homework, just to see something, right? And a little bit afterwards, ever since I was a kid, I would just like kind of commentate the game in my head, and just do that. And I did have that itch to broadcast in the SFL seasons prior to that, probably season 8, season 9. You know, not at the beginning, not season 5, season 6, but by season 8, probably just had that itch. But you know, I didn't do anything about it. It wasn't until season 10 or 11, I can remember, that I did it. And my first game was with Eric Vincent as well. He was the play-by-play. I was the color commentator, and I actually broadcasted a Houston game that time. And I will remember, it was my first game, so I will remember it. You were wearing them on the Miami Hurricanes.
Oh, that's when we played
uniforms.
Dallas.
There you go.
Yeah.
It was against Dallas.
Started season 0-2, and I needed that win. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, we mocked Dallas up. I'm sorry, but go ahead.
No, that's okay. So I would, you know, I was still living with my parents at the time. I would get just in a quiet room, like outside of everybody else, and I broadcast in the first game. It kind of went like a blur. Like I you know, to me in my head it seems so easy and so natural. And just like you, Mighty, when it's like the campus was like, "Hey, you're live," and I'm like, oh, and and Eric gives me the word, and I'm like, oh yeah, but it was so fun. I did get the gist of it, game after game, just gotten better and better. And by season, was it 15? I paired with Cam. I did broadcast the championship game between Sioux Falls and Baltimore, and that was just a blast. To be able to call a championship game and really call some of the craziest games in SFL history, both as a caller and as a play-by-play, has been just such a journey, and it's been so fun.
That's what's up, man. Andy, you are basically the precursor, right? Because we all know this Cam's baby, right? So Cam was the first, but you started the trickle down that created the commentary team that the broadcast squad we see now, right? And I believe you started season.
Probably, I want to say 6 or 7. I joined the league in 5 or 6. But I think, even before that, like Damon was saying, really, I think the precursors were Corky and himself, and Mike Peters, and those that group that would travel to Cam's house to actually broadcast the games from there. I think they were the first ones that kind of opened it up for being more than just Cam. I was one of the first people to do it from the comfort of my own home, just solely because I was a college kid and never made it down to Texas. Didn't live in that area, but it was really them going to his house first that really kind of started the broadcast team, if you will. So all credit to them. But really, I kind of reached out to Cam from the standpoint that at the time, besides those championship games, there was a time, and everyone in this room remembers, but, some of the viewers may not even know this existed, but there were weeks where Cam would broadcast 4 games a week out of the 7 to 10. And the rest would just play without broadcast. It would just be silent, and you would watch, and all of us didn't care, right? We're like, oh, sweet. Those are my plays. This is awesome, right? No one cared. The chat was going crazy. It was fun. But I'm sitting there going, man, I only get, at the time I was still coaching for Carolina, and Shan, me and James, we sucked, right? So we got like 1 or 2 games called a year. And I was like, man, I wish Cam would call more of our games. And then I was like, it really sucks that there's only 3 games called a week out of the 10. And I was like, I actually wasn't like Demond or Ramos. I didn't really call games in my head or anything when I would watch them. I didn't really, live in that world. Mine was more out of a thought of like, this would really help everyone if there were more games called a week. And I think I can do it, right? It's not like I'll be the best. I won't be Cam. I won't be John Madden or, Gus Johnson. I won't fit in that mold, but I think I can do it and fake it enough for this small community to feel like they're getting more of their games called. So I reached out to him, similar to Damon. He asked me to do a game that I hadn't seen before, which at the time, I really had to rack my brain because I pretty much watched just every game that was ever played. So we finally found one that I hadn't seen. I broadcasted it, just recorded it in OBS, sent it to Cam. It was terrible, but it was good enough. And he at the time wouldn't let me stream anything for fear of what Damon did. But he did send it to me. At that time, he was recording all the games in advance and would play them out live. And he sent me one in advance to record my audio for. I sent it back, and he live streamed it out to the community. And it was nerve-wracking, right? Because you want to make sure you do a good job. It added to it a little bit that it was a Sioux Falls and Carolina game that I had to broadcast. So I don't know why I ended up broadcasting my own team's game.
That was the snow game.
It was the snow game.
That was the snow game.
For some reason, I had to record it super early. I don't know if Cam was going out of town or if I was, but I recorded it like 4 days early. So I knew that we had lost for like 4 days. And I had to sit in the locker room and be like, yep, I can't wait to see what happens on Saturday. And it was hard. But I think it showed the league that, hey, you can trust this guy. you just gave him his own result 4 days early, and he pretended not to know a damn thing. So it was good, and it's spiraled into what it is today, where we have tons of broadcasters, and there's never a game that goes without two people calling it, not just one. And I'm super happy about that, because I think it adds so much to the league. And I'm happy to have just a small part in that kind of story of getting us to where we are today.
Now, broadcasting as owners / coaches, is it more, how can I say this? Is it more difficult? Is it beneficial? Is it detrimental? Or like, you know what I'm saying? Because yes, you have access because you're actually watching. Sometimes you watch your next 3, 4, 5 opponents, right? Because you, depending on how the games get handled and handed out and the pairings and whatnot. But is it also counterproductive? Like, do you ever feel like it's a negative for you having to call those games per se, or do you never? You know what I'm saying? So we'll start with Ramos. We'll scramble the word a little bit. Ramos, like you touched upon this a little earlier, that it was beneficial to you to be able to call the games out, especially if you got Fort Worth or Houston or Lone Star that you're, you know what I'm saying, that you're breaking down, because even though you might not be facing him next week, but you might be facing him in 2 weeks and 3 weeks, to kind of get an idea of the strategies that they like to utilize.
Yeah, beneficial for sure. I don't think it's counterproductive at all. At least not in my experience. Obviously, as long as it doesn't clash with your own game, the one that you're expecting for your team, which is never the case. Like really, Mike does a phenomenal job on setting up the schedule in a way where maybe you're calling a game at noon and your team plays a few hours later. I don't think it's counterproductive one bit. If anything, again, it's beneficial because you get to know more about the leagues. It's not kind of the same thing watching as it is actually calling it, even though I'm always very analytical when I'm watching any game. Actually calling it and actually watching the stats and actually just being ultra perceptive of what's happening. I think it really aids, and it helps you remind, even if the opponent that you're facing is going to come down later on the season, like a month from that time, you do kind of remember because you called it and you were right there. So, and you watch the stats and everything. So no, not counterproductive at all. And I really like that. Especially when you have a good mixed bag of teams, right? So maybe you're calling Carolina and Sioux Falls one week, and the next one you're calling Louisiana and Houston, for example. I don't know. You kind of get to know about a bunch of teams and what they want to do, and maybe things that you don't catch when you're watching a game live because you're doing whatever else, like you're laser focused. And yeah.
I got you. Now, there are a couple of times I've done stats for games where I'll notice within the first couple of drives something odd about the opposing team's defense, right? They come in and they're accustomed to playing some kind of 4-3, and you don't see 4-3 anywhere in the first 2 drives, or you don't see any man defense to the first 2 drives. Like, okay, they're trying something different there. So I'll often post in the game channel, hey, peep this. See if they're playing any man defense. Just keep your eye on that. And like middle of second quarter, you ain't seen a lick of man in any defense. Like, okay, let's see if this strategy is going to pan out.
I remember there was one game I was broadcasting and you were in stats.
Yes.
And you put something like, is that key zone? Is that the only thing they have? And I'm like,
you remember? You want to know what game that was? That was the Tallahassee game when Johnny Pickler came back on them.
Yes.
They played key zone, and
that was it.
And their number 2 corner got hurt, and it was all she wrote.
Over. It was over.
Because B.E. Robo went ham down that right sideline.
There you go. Ray Rie got hurt.
There you go. So
there you go.
So okay, I get you there. So Damon, if you want to tag on to what Ramos just said, so you definitely believe it's a benefit to you, I think it's able to broadcast and coach at the same time.
It's a benefit and it's a detrimental as well. And I'll go with benefit first. The reason why I say it's a benefit is because, as Ramos said, you said yourself, sometimes you do get your next few matchups. I can remember one season, dude, I think it was season 16, maybe 15. when we made the playoffs. I had like 4 games in a row where they all were my next opponents that I broadcast. You know, dude, I was loving. I love that part. You know, now no one goes to Dags and say, "Hey, let me have this. Let me broadcast this team or whatever." He does it all by himself. You know what I'm saying? He'll chime in with Cam about the schedule as well. But you know, no one goes to me and say, "Hey, man, let me have this team here next week. Let me have this team or whatever." But no, but you're right. It is a benefit when you're able to broadcast a team who is your next opponent and you can see what they're doing. And then so you get basically a head start in reference to what their team is doing. Now, the flip side of it, where I say it's a negative, is that if I got to broadcast a game on Sunday, that's when I like to watch my next opponent and scouting for them for the upcoming week, you know, is on Sunday evening or so. So if I'm calling a late Sunday game, you know, that I can cancel that out. I won't be able to do that until Monday or so, you know. So that kind of put me behind the 8 ball a little bit there. And then also, you know, I have family, married, kids, got a 2-year-old now, you know. So that kind of gets in the way, and my wife would want to do things, and I'm like, I got to broadcast, you know. She gets upset from that because she want to go out and do something, and I got to call a game. And then now I'm doing stats as well, so that's 2 games, and she be like, "Bro, you're killing me," you know. But man, other than that, man, it's a benefit, dude. I love it. There's times I have taken seasons off, you know, due to I was in college and stuff. Or whatever, and I basically had to focus and buckle down on that. And you know, I like Eddie say, he thought about taking off last season. Hell, I thought about taking off last season too. You know, because sometimes you know you really just don't have enough time, really to get all your scouting in. And so, like I say, I like to do my scouting on Sunday night, Monday night or so. Now, if I got to do 2 games Monday night because I broadcast a Sunday night game, but that's on me because I can check off that I'm not available Sunday night, right? I can just check for only Saturday games. But then I had to think about my partner, Eddie, as well, where that, sometimes Eddie's not available on Saturdays. He's only available Sunday nights, so I had to take that into, consideration and buckle down and make sure that he and I link together, because he don't like being with nobody else. He only likes me.
Don't make me laugh.
Yeah. Yes. I got you. So Demar, you tell me you never slid Dags to 20 so you could watch the next week so you could do next week Fort Worth Mexico City game? You sure you never did happen? Okay, just making sure.
Ramos had the same thing last season. He called a Houston game and had to face us the next week, and then right after that, he either called Lone Star or Fort Worth and had to play them too. So it falls in your benefit sometimes. Like, when you know the playbook, it comes easy to you, what I'm saying, for your next opponent you're scouting for them. Oh, I already know what they do, but I'm gonna watch this game anyway, because I know what's coming up, and boom, everything just becomes smooth to you like clockwork.
So Andy, you're in that camp as well, that it's a definite benefit to be able to call a game, calling games of opponents and stuff like that. It's not something that gets in the way. It kind of helps you out down the line a little bit.
Yeah, and not even who you're playing just the next week. I mean, I'll write down, if someone, it's funny, I kind of some days sit there with a pen and a notepad next to me. And if there's a good play that breaks a defense down, I'll write down the quarter and what time it is. And I'll go, all right, I'm going to come back and look at what that play was. And then there are other times where I'll look at what a defense is doing to a team and I'll go, hey, I'm going to write this down. If I ever have to face this team, I'll come back and look at this game. I'm a little different from Demond. I sometimes focus so much on the players and the game at hand that I'm not watching and remembering. I'm watching, but I'm not remembering every single play that happens during the course of a game. So sometimes when I watch it or when I call an opponent's game, I have to go back and watch the whole thing. I turn the audio off because I don't want to listen to myself, but I'll go back and watch through the plays. And I know generally what happened, right? They ran all over them, but I can't tell you which running plays they used all game. The only time it really gets egregious for me is when a team has like one play in a formation and they run it 45 times to no success. And then I'm like, all right, well, I know what they're going to do when they call this formation. And that's the only real time I don't like broadcasting is when they run a screen out of a certain formation
when the
for
playbook
the
is not
55th
balanced.
time.
That's what you're saying? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, when a team sticks to kind of a one-play game plan and it doesn't work. If it works, then I'm more frustrated at the defense. Like, come on, guys, you got to stop this one play and you could win the whole thing. But really, I'm more focused on the plays and what's going on. And then I kind of circle back, like Damon was saying later, and kind of figure out game planning wise what I can take from that game and what I can learn. And there are sometimes where you call a game and you're like, there is nothing in this game that I want anything to do with. I don't even want to pretend that one of these plays could make it in my book. So it just depends on the matchup. It depends on the season. But I now know that if I slip Dags a $20 bill, I can call my future opponent's game.
Come on now, get that LA squad on the field so I can see what he's looking like. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, get some Pacific opponents in there.
So Eddie, so you're there, you're there as well. Where definitely a benefit to calling games and being able to see what your opponents are doing.
As far as a detriment, if my wife wasn't in school right now, I could relate to Damon a little bit, but she has I think 2 classes left to finish her doctorate. So right now it's not really I'll let her know you said thank you. But right now it's not really a detriment because most of the time she's locked in class or something or doing homework. So it's not really the issue right now. Now next season, we'll see what that's looking like once she finishes because she can be ready to hit the streets. But but other than that, I don't really see a detriment at all. I'm gonna hear from Damon later, but it's all good. But other than that, no. I mean, I also like these guys said. I remember, and I was I think it was Vancouver was playing, and Damon knows me, and you know me from talking to you a million times also, Mighty. Passing the ball deep is something I'm definitely afraid of.
I was allergic to it. You're like, no,
Yeah.
no, who does that?
Same. I'm terrified.
And so anytime we got to throw the ball deep, I'm just, in full blown panic mode and until I see what the defense come out in. But even then, I'm still nervous. And so I remember broadcasting a game and Andy had a player's playbook that attacked. It was safe because it attacked different kind of defense, whether they came out in man, press, quarters coverage, I think even like cover 3 strong. And it has something for all those areas.
Mhm.
That's pretty much a lot of plays people call, and down. I'm like, oh, okay. So I kind of wrote down a timestamp and wrote that one down and added to my playbook this offseason. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna play with this and see how it work out. But other than that, no, I don't see it as a detriment at all. It can't help but help, especially us as coaches who call games too, because we always try to learn, adapt, and it's funny, even like Mexico City, for example. I don't think Ramos' offensive playbook, maybe this past season since he got 4 receivers now, but his offensive playbook is pretty much always close to the same. But yet and still you look up and he got 30, 35 points on the board and people can't quite figure him out. I'm like, man, how's this man doing it? And so this past offseason, I went and looked at a lot of his games too. So, as a broadcaster, it can't help but be a benefit, especially when you're coaching, to always try to figure out different things that people are doing. So.
Okay, that's what's up. Now we're going to pivot a little bit. So now, as a broadcaster, let me tell you where I come from. So during the championship game, I noticed we go above and beyond, which is great because that is the game that everyone's gonna have their elbows on leading into the offseason. No, I get it. But I would love for our games to have maybe a 60-second or 2-minute lead-in with the announcers, maybe on camera, maybe off camera, just pontificating about the matchup just a little bit, but what they're expecting to see coming in, and maybe at halftime have another 60-second, 2-minute where after Cam and Mike do their around the league stuck dizzle, right? And once they wrap that up, where we'll cut it back to the same broadcasters to kind of, okay, from what you thought to where it is, what adjustments each team needs to make to be able to prevail at the end. Like, I would love for that. I don't know if we got the manpower, and I don't know if that's the thing that's feasible right now with the way the schedule is put together. But I would love for that to be a thing on a regular basis for all broadcasts. That's my thing. Like I said, I don't know. For each of you fine gentlemen, what is a thing that you would like to see added or maybe adjusted to make the broadcast better, more palatable, more presentable, or whatever for you? We'll start with Damon. What you got?
You will come to me first. I'm in agreement with you there. The intro is so short, you know, and I already do a long intro. So by the time I get to Eddie and you know he getting his 2 cents in, it's time to kick the ball off. You know, so I even went to the as far as even cutting out my normal intro that I normally do, and basically use that time for him to just elaborate on his thoughts and his takes of the game leading into the matchup. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that would be an excellent addition, but then we got to think about time wise as well, you know, because there are, you know, live televised games with that, you know, we do have to cut into commercial breaks and so forth. The games are already an hour and 45 minutes long, you know, so we just got to think about, you know, that part of it as well. But I agree with you. That would be awesome if there could be like a 60-second segment, you know, right before the game starts or whatever. Just how, like, when you're watching any, you know, sporting event or so, you know, the two commentators, they come together and they talk about it, you know. Like, you know, like my two favorite guys, Joe Klatt and Gus Johnson, you know, when they do the Red River Shootout, dude, that's like the best commentating ever. You know what I'm saying? It's like the best ever, dude, to me. To me, that is, you know, right before the game, they come together, and what happened previously and going on or whatnot. And then, you know, they do speak in halftime and so I do agree with you. That would be awesome to have.
So Eddie, what do you think about, you know, what could be added or adjusted to the broadcast to make it better for the people at home, or whatever ideas you have? Like, what do you think?
First of all, I also agree with your idea, and I've actually presented that to Cam a while back ago. We'll see if one day again it gets implemented. We'll see. But another thing I'd like to do, and I actually tried it one time, but it didn't work out so well because Cam wasn't able to get it going. But it was a Mexico City versus Lone Star game, and I think that was like 3 seasons ago when Mike Daggs was having like an all world. He was like having an MVP type season, and I forget who they played the previous week, but I cut the clip of it and sent it to Cam and said, Cam, I would love to be able to talk about this play that Mexico City loves to run, and how they take advantage of Mike Dagg's skill sets, you know, getting him open downfield vertically like that, because a lot of teams can't get the tight end involved vertically down the field the way Mexico City does a lot with Mike Daggs. You know, it's not just 90-yard slants. And so, you know, I cut the clip, sent it to him and said, I told Cam, I said, Cam, I would love to be able to break this play down and break down what went wrong for the defense and see how this week's opponent tries to counter it. And we did it, but it didn't work out nearly as well. I forget, it was either 2 or 3 seasons ago, but it flopped because he wasn't able to pause it and do some other things I want to talk about, and it just flopped. But at some point, I would love to get together with him and try to do something like that for maybe playoff games or like a game of the week type thing or something like that. Even at the championship game, it would be awesome to like roll back the film and show what went wrong for the offense, or the defense went right for the offense, and you know, so on and so forth. And the previous week into how comparison to how this week's opponent is going to try and take advantage of that situation.
Seeing that you brought that up, would you want to make that like a segment and say with your chest, or is that too much production wise to have to put together for that? I
actually did that a couple of times and say with your chest. But being I'm still relatively new at OBS, it didn't quite work out because I had the volume up too loud, so people couldn't really hear me talking. I had the volume up too loud of the playback, so I forgot to dial the audio down, And I didn't realize until after the show was over when Harris told me, but that's something I definitely plan on doing moving forward next season.
Okay, that's what's up. That's what's up. Andy, Mr. Hamilton, what do you believe can be added to the broadcast? Eddie brought something good up. Damon kind of echoed my idea about maybe having a short prelude and a short prelude going into the game, and then right between Cam and Mike and the start of the second half. What adjustments, additions do you believe could make the broadcast that much better?
Yeah, I think the prelude before the game is certainly an idea. I think there's a lot of games where you have a lot of information to divulge to the watchers, right? And the thing that I've said before is you really kind of have 1-2 quarters before some of that information becomes stale, right?
Mm-hmm.
League leaders, stats, where they stand in the rest of the league. Really, once the new week starts, some of that information's old, right? They used to be the third best receiver in the league, right? The third most yards, but now they're fifth with the adjustment, right? So some of that information, I would agree, a little more time would be beneficial. Coming out of the half, I think we have to be careful. If it's a close game, right? Two good teams, there's plenty to talk about. If one of the teams is up 35-0 at the half, just kick it off. Kick it off. Let's get this thing rolling. There are some games where there's too much time and you're trying to come up with stuff to talk about. No disrespect to anyone. The thing I personally would like some more of is information about the individuals behind the players in the league. And I think that's one of the things with the media guide that we've tried to put together when we make that, is I want to know where the user's from, right? Where what's your hometown? So I can call it out when we're playing, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you are playing against someone from your hometown, I want to talk about that. What are your interests, right? And we know some of the characters, right? I know exactly where Ashley Jackson's from, right? She makes it very well known. Arizona does a really good job of getting a lot of their players out there and in the public eye, right? But there are a lot of teams that I don't know Joe Schmo on the defensive line from Joe Schmo at the safety position, right? And I'm trying to discern who is who, and all I have are the names, the heights, and their stats, right? And I think for me, the players who put themselves out there and provide more information, provide an opportunity for us as broadcasters to share and connect a lot more information, right? Mighty, if you have someone on your team from Cleveland, Ohio, and I got someone on the team that you're playing from Cleveland, Ohio, well, that's interesting, right? Because those two might not know that they both live in Cleveland, Ohio, but here they are going head to head for a team from Florida and a team from Mexico City, right? So it's a lot of information that you can add and add color to a broadcast, right? Stories about individuals' lives, right? That's what makes broadcasts to me super interesting. A great example of that is there was a player on one of my teams a while ago who had a passing in his family the week of a game, and it was tough, and we were all rallying around him, and he caught a touchdown in that game. And that information was super critical to the story of that game. And without that knowledge, it would have been such a different moment, right? It's just a touchdown for this fourth string guy that no one knows anything about. But because we all had that context, it made it such a more magical moment for the world of the SFL and the community, right? And for that individual player as well. So I think for me, it's, how much information are some of these users willing to share to make these broadcasts a little bit more colorful, and how can we get more information from the players to make it more personalized towards them?
Yes, I agree. Now, how we go about facilitating that, that might be a thing where you might have to get with like the leaderships of each team to kind of give you a breakdown of that, of all that, and coordinating that as we found with can be very difficult. I just put it at that. Ramos, what ideas, concepts, strategies do you believe could help that you have that you would like to see implemented to make broadcasts flourish even more than they are?
Yeah, that idea with the thing Eddie said, it reminded me of your articles of I Spy a few years ago, where you were dissecting plays. I think that's a really good addition, especially coming from, like a color commentator, like probably like Eddie and guys who normally do some coaching and scouting and everything, who are getting into broadcasting. I think that's a good idea. Another thing that we have actually done in the past, I did it last season as a matter of fact, is a 3-man commentary crew with basically like a sideline reporter. I know that we do that for like championship game. Tyler was on the previous one doing sideline reporting. I know, manpower, sometimes it's hard enough to fill the gaps for like 2 guys on a game on any given week. But maybe for like game of the week, every week, I don't know, Sunday nights, whatever, or Sunday afternoons, whatever it is, having a 3-man commentary crew who's, reaching out in Discord on the DMs to the coach at halftime, see what they got to do, or reach out to a player who's probably having a big first half, just get their thoughts on it, and just adding that quality, to the broadcast. Another thing is something like a Manning cast. I would love to see more of that. I know that last season it was Ray Bentley in the Lone Star game. Yeah, it was him. It was Nelson Lozano, and they got a few guys. I think it kind of ties with Andy's idea a little bit, because if we are able to get a few different guys in the broadcast that maybe are not part of the game itself that's been played, but just different guys, and getting to know different guys and just commentate about the game. I think that's fun too. I understand that a lot of people like to see more of a traditional play-by-play and color kind of thing in a game, especially probably somebody who has interest in the game, But I think that having that, I think it will just add a lot of like diversity and a lot of uniqueness to each and every game day week. And it will be fun, just getting to know a different person, right? Somebody who doesn't talk much in Discord, who doesn't talk much in game chat, but wants to pop up and say a few things, and getting to know their face, getting to see them, because we don't know how a lot of people look like. So getting to see them, getting to hear their voice, I think it will be pretty cool as well.
That's cool. See that the great minds, you put them together, they come up with awesome ideas. Now that we put that out on, we put it on wax. Now, hopefully, one of these, hits the ground, and germinates, and then becomes a thing that becomes a regular occurrence now during the broadcast. So now we're all owners here, so we're gonna scale it back away from the broadcast, but back to front office work. So we're currently in the off season. There are certain people that are unhappy with certain numbers that have been put out there. Some others, and some more than others. Others are like, we'll deal with it and make it work. So how is each of your off seasons going so far, seeing that this is the 4th day, we're going into the 5th day of the re-signing period? Start with Andy. How you looking?
Yeah, I think our re-signings are exactly kind of where we want them to be. We every year it feels like have a couple holes to fill, from people moving on to bigger opportunities, or people moving on to what they foresee as bigger opportunities. We usually fill those fairly quickly, sometimes not as quickly as we would like, but we at this point kind of have a good look at what our team will look like moving in. From a cap situation, I think every year it gets tougher and tougher to kind of field the team that we'd like to see on the field. We do our best to work within the means of what makes sense.
Chest, Andy. Say it with your chest, man.
No, wrong show.
Wrong show, Eddie.
We try and work within the means of what makes sense. You build these players up all year. You try and make them better for, the right way, right? Not just adding 50 animations if their stats aren't where they're supposed to be. Trying to get them to a point that's going to make them good for a long time, right? Seasons to come. And then you get to the off season, and sometimes you're staring at them going, even if I take that animation away, you're still a little expensive for me. And it's tough, right? Because a lot of the players don't want to leave, and you don't want them to leave, right? You like them. And so, in Vancouver, we have this policy where we don't cut players, right? We'll do whatever it takes to keep our people on the team. If you want to be here, well, you're here, right? And so that at times can get tricky as we try and navigate the cap each year and kind of how it works. But in terms of off season, I think we're in a good spot, and we're looking forward to the free agency period opening up and us getting those last couple names under contract.
Good stuff. Eddie, we were having a conversation earlier. I told you save your question for later. First, how's your off season going, and then ask your question too.
You got to refresh my memory of what that question was.
I don't remember either, because after I got done with you, I had to retape the intro like 7 times, and I forgot what it was.
Okay, well, in regards to my off season, so like Andy, we also have a policy in which we don't believe in cutting players unless they either miss progression without a valid excuse, or they do something to embarrass either the team or the league. Otherwise, they are Scorpion for as long as they want to be there. But this offseason, I had to break that promise because we had an inkling that Mark Mello was going to leave. He had been contemplating leaving for a couple of seasons now, and he always came back. But in his heart, I knew he wanted to leave because, well, I'm not getting to why, but I just had a feeling this season was going to be the season he was going to leave. It was tough for him. He admitted it was tough, but he left. So and I got to find a way to replace my season 16 defensive player of the year. But also we decided to let go Shad Allen, and he had just got to us this season, but we let him go because we needed Mark Mello does stats for us, and we also have Toriano Rivera doing stats for us, but he's not always available on weekends because of his job. Well, it turns out he got a new job since then, in which he should be available on weekends for the most part, but I still need to have some depth in that area. So I went out and found someone who would do stats, and they happened to play Shaw's position. So I made it a tough call to let him go. Something I told myself I would never do, but because of the rules of the SFL and them enforcing them, I had to let Shaw go. But other than that, we had Joey Tropicana retire. He'd been with us in season 14. He made the Pro Bowl a couple of times, so replacing him is tough. But if all goes to plan and everyone sticks to their verbal commitments, those spots will all be filled up next week and we'll be good to go. So as far as that's concerned, off season going pretty well. Like Andy, I'm sure everybody else here, along with the entire rest of the SFL, the 1,800 cap number, I was not expecting. Typically after we had 17 weeks of progression this past season, and I, for one, did not put animations on people. I built their attributes. And so now I have an additional 5 weeks times 23 players of attributes that I got to trim, and it was tough, getting under cap. And, Mike, I've been talking to you along with some other people, and I made some tough decisions about what I was going to cut. And, as you guys can see, I'm making some moves now, and it's going to be a team effort this season. I'm gonna have to coach my tail off, in particular the first half of the season, because I don't have a single player who's, according to the cap, dominant, and so it's going to be a team effort, and it's going to be all hands on deck. And but I'm also looking forward to it because it's forcing me to coach in ways that I haven't had to rely on before. And you taught me that, Mighty, a couple of seasons ago. And so I'm looking forward to the challenge, though. So we'll see how it rolls.
So, Ramos, how's your off season looking over there in Mexico City?
It's been interesting. Just like Andy and Eddie said, It's been about what I expected. Normally, right around probably the end of the regular season, beginning of the playoffs, I ask around and say, hey, what are your thoughts about next season? Are you willing to stay with us? Would you want to test free agency? Because, to me, I share the same thoughts as Eddie and Andy. Is if you want to be with the team, we're going to find you a spot. As long as you are respectful in the chats, respectful in the Discord, everything. As long as you represent the team proudly, you don't have to, go and post go Aztecs every 5 seconds, right? But as long as you are, a good sport, say a good game, whether we win or we lose, and just do your progressions and do your thing, welcome to the team. We've done a couple of changes so far in the roster so far.
I noticed.
Yeah. So that's gonna be interesting. I always like doing different things. Whether that is, last season we went 6 DBs, something I've never done before. There's been times where we go, 5 wide receivers. This time we are gonna try a 2 running back set. So, Ray Bedley's going back to the running back position, teaming with Phoenix, and see how that goes. And but it's been fun, man. I always like this time of season. I understand it can be tough, managing the cap, especially when you have great defensive players or offensive players who are doing great for your team with what they have, and it's difficult to say, hey man, you know what, we gotta cut 3 animations off because I just don't have the cap, buddy. Right now for us, that's the case, for example, with Dan Tritz. He's perhaps our best defensive player with Jeffrey Dax. But it's like, I don't have all the cap space in the world. So yeah, it's always an interesting time of the year, but it's been fun.
Yeah, it's definitely a balance, because if one is eating, someone's starving. And, I don't know. I don't know if you can live with that one starving. You know what I'm saying? So, Eddie, all right over there, man?
Don't make me laugh.
So, Damon, how's it going in Houston? With the first of all, I want to, I didn't want to wait this late into the broadcast, but big ups on the rebrand. Big ups on Mike St. Green coming in as a co-owner with you. You know what I'm saying? Y'all gonna hold down Houston, no doubt about it. How's it going down there for y'all?
It's going pretty great, man. Although, we've lost an extended amount of players this offseason. All the players that has agreed to come back are all under contract now. They took care of their business all on Monday. Everybody got their contract signed Monday night, before Monday night was over with. Although, re-signing period is still open, but we want to make sure that we got our guys taken care of on day one. Mm-hmm. Let's not procrastinate. Let's go ahead and get this in and done now, or whatever. But all season, man, has been pretty great, man. As you stated, with the rebrand, Mike St. Green coming over, which I'm enjoying. I'm enjoying Mike at the moment. Everything has been pretty cool between us, and we're clicking, man, and we're running. We're actually basically changing the culture within the Houston locker room and the organization as a whole. Holding everyone accountable to do their job. There's no more people having titles and not doing their jobs anymore, whatever. So, and not all the work is just placed on me now. I got a GM that's actually doing what he's supposed to be as a GM. He's reaching out to players. I know this is the wrong segment. It's not saying with your chest, but I got a guy that's actually reaching out, doing what he's supposed to do, and Mike is helping out doing that as well. So yeah, man, our season's going great. We bring in some great free agents. Can't wait till next Monday to come around, because we're gonna be rolling, dude. We're gonna be rolling. Cap wise, although I dislike the fact that cap didn't go up, as Eddie stated, we had an additional 5 games, and it's hurting to have to withdraw, what players have gained, within those extra 5 weeks or so. There was a lot of players that added animations that may not get those back, come start of next season. Reason being is because cap is just so tight, and I understand why the league, did it because of the 4 expansion teams coming in, and they wanted to be an even playing field going across the board. So I get it, but I do understand that it could still be an even playing field if the cap was increased, or whatever. So you can miss me with that one. You know what I'm saying? So either way it goes, everyone has the same cap. It's not like Eddie has, a large amount of cap space, and then an expansion team wouldn't have the same cap space. Everyone would have the same cap space. So how was that not being even playing field if it was increased? I mean, if someone can break that down and make that any sense to me, I'll be happy to listen to it. But other than that, that's just whack that we didn't get an increase on that. It could have been 50 points, man. 50 points. But we're going to have players that will have animations on them. Reason being, we started the season, I think, 40 points under the cap last season. So we had some wiggle room, so we didn't exceed too high during the season. I think we finished the season at 1910. So we was only 110 points over the cap. So, I even withdrew animations for myself. I've removed 2,
Whoa.
Lord knows DRCM need his animation.
Not more than Max Jackson, though. Though he did remove like 7 animations.
He took a pay cut.
He did. He took a pay cut. Now, here's the question. Will Gabriel Manning take a pay cut?
He got 5.
My goodness.
He signed today. He got 5.
Well, I mean, but man, Max Jackson was running out of animation. Like the dude was adding like quick release at this point as a safety. He had no more animations to add, man.
Stonewall, yeah.
Hey, clip that, Mighty. Clip that.
He had no more animations to add, boy. Like he had like loose ball magnet and like.
We love you, John. We love you, John.
The one thing you can't say is that he had a cookie cutter build. He didn't. He didn't have a cookie cutter build.
He didn't. No, he didn't.
But now he took a big pay cut, and now he has 2 animations only.
For now.
Oh, wow.
And I said it with my chest. So
Yeah.
He gonna add them on later.
Oh,
yeah, I had 5. I'm down to 3. So.
Okay.
There you go.
So, but I will say this. As I said, I think was on someone else's podcast or whatever. No, I was just talking in I think Gen Chat. This past season was the most competitive season we've ever had in the SFL. Bro, we had how many teams that wound up 7-5 or 8-4? Like it was like more than half the league. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So I just want to use this time, since I haven't spoken since publicly like this since last season, to just big up all the coaches out there burning that midnight oil to make their team competitive week in and week out. We see the effort, we see the result. Y'all are putting in the work. Keep it going, because though that's not what we want, you know what I'm saying? We're trying to strive to be the best as a league. That is what you want. You're looking for that competitive balance where there are no blowouts, like Andy said. No more 35 zips at halftime. Let's keep it close so we got something to talk about in the second half, right? So big ups to, what I'm saying? Again, big ups to all the coaches out there doing a thug dizzle, coming up with new ways to be competitive and kind of create an identity for their team. I'm looking at you, Detroit. Yeah, because Drew came at me in the offseason and we had some discussions. So they're gonna try something way different. And I can't wait to see what it looks like on the field, because it's going to be interesting to watch. So, gentlemen, this is your time to say whatever you please on the platform before I wrap this bad boy up and put it to bed. So what y'all got? It's okay. Don't speak up at once. That's nice.
Something different, huh?
Yeah.
Double trouble every play.
He came at me late last season. As they were kind of wrapping up, the end of that season there. And he came at me like, hey, what do you think about this? I'm like, that's interesting. What about this? Like,
that's different.
Yeah. So
quarterback bootleg.
I can't wait to see what it looks like on the field.
No defensive stars.
That's a lot of offensive firepower.
Yeah.
Are they going no wide
We're
receivers again?
throwing deep every play, baby.
So
There
we'll
you
see.
go.
So
Are they going no star wide receivers again?
Oh,
That's a lot of defensive firepower if they do that, if they go that route too. Because that man, teams are loaded,
Just
bro.
kidding.
Teams are loaded now, bro. Like
Yeah.
like 23, 24, 25 stars. It's crazy. Like anyways,
Yeah.
that's neither here nor there. So yeah, they came at me late last offseason. So he's been in the lab for almost 2 months now, trying to put this thing together. So I can't wait to see what I can't wait to see if it works, and I can't wait to see what it looks like. So
Is it on offense or defense?
I'm not at liberty to divulge that information, sir. I don't kiss and tell. I do not kiss and tell. Yay, you know better than anybody. I don't kiss and tell. So I don't know what you're talking about.
what does that mean? Hold on. Let's unpack that.
Right, what you mean?
Let's unpack
You're
that.
never gonna find out.
Huh.
Okay?
You've been kissing Eddie, huh?
I don't tell. So
That's what it sounds like.
I can tell you.
Damon, how do you feel about that one? He's been kissing your boy.
Oh Lord,
Hey,
of
slow
mercy.
down. Hold on now.
Oh, hold on.
It's
Now.
probably,
you
it's
said-
probably why Eddie haven't called me in the last 2 days.
What is going on here? That is not what I meant.
You said this was our time.
Yeah,
I've been
but
sick.
that is not what I meant by using this free time.
All right, sick.
Okay, we're gonna wrap this up, but before I let out, I want to say this. Please reach out to your loved ones. We're gonna turn to a serious note. Please reach out to your loved ones. Give them a shout, shoot them a text, let them know how much you love and appreciate them. You never know when they're gonna go. Heck, you never know when you're gonna go, and you don't want regrets. You don't want to live with regrets. So I'm just gonna put that out there. So though it sounds like it's a somber note, it's not. You reach out to your loved one, you catch up, you go crack a joke, you never know. You know what I'm saying? Hey, why did chicken cross the road? Whatever. Because they was hungry, you had to go Taco Bell. I don't know. But for that said, for the owner and Hall of Fame owner of the Houston, no longer Hyenas. You took the Hyenas away from me, Devon. How you gonna do that to me? For Hall of Fame owner of the Houston Headhunters, I'm gonna speak into that existence. For the future Hall of Fame owner of the Vancouver Legion, for the Hall of Fame owner of the Mexico City Aztecs, for the Hall of Fame owner of the Arizona Scorpions. Good grief. Heavy metal, like rock band heavy metal. I am Hall of Fame owner, Max Paul, and we're signing off.